Hello, everyone. I'm John Cranton in Las Vegas. Welcome to the Las Vegas Sports Services NBA Weekly Report. I'm joined by Jeff Saad, who runs LVSS. We're going to take a look at the Miami Heat, the battle in the East between the Knicks and Pacers for that number 2 seed, and the battle in the West between the Lakers and the Jazz. We have some trivia, some NBA trends, and road trips to keep in mind. But first, Jeff Saad, last month you hit your NBA total of the year. Last week you hit your conference tournament game of the year. That was Syracuse. They had no trouble with Marquette. So how can folks get aboard a red-hot handicapper at a special discount?
Yeah, everything's going well at LVSS. I won all 3 NIT games, both semifinals on Tuesday, plus the easy one with Baylor on Thursday. Last 2 nights, I'm 6-1 in baseball, including 4-0 on Wednesday. So I'm going to everybody can get on board now. Just get you get 1 week of baseball and NBA for just $10. And that will include my NBA 20-star consensus game of the year on Friday. So you want to get on board for the hottest service in the country. You got a week of baseball, a week of NBA, and 20-star consensus NBA game of the year, all for just $10. Call LVSS at 1-866-575-8916. When you call, ask about the NBA playoffs, too. They can give you some special prices on that. I ended last year's playoff season on a 25-9 run, 74%. And going back to 2012 or 2011, I'm on a 60-31-1 run in the NBA playoffs, 66%. So make sure you ask about that too. But get a week of baseball and NBA for $10, including my 20-star consensus NBA game of the year. Only $10. 1-866-575-8916.
Many of you can find the NBA playoffs very difficult to analyze, but not Jeff. He's been doing it a long time. At special 10 days for $10. Okay, let's start with some NBA oddities of the week. I mean, it's been an unusual week. Of these 4, what do you think is the wackiest? Lakers retiring the wrong Shaq jersey. You had a full-scale boardroom battle for the future of the Sacramento Kings with bids coming in while the team is still playing. Carmelo Anthony got 90 points in 2 games. And 5 total assists, and then Chris Boss had $340,000 worth of jewelry stolen from his home at a Moroccan-themed party, complete with live camels.
I tell you, it was never a dull moment in the NBA. I don't see how the Shaq jersey thing is it's unbelievable. How can not a single person not notice that this jersey was turned around, especially when you have all those other jerseys to compare it with? It's just amazing. This thing with the Kings and the Sonics is so complicated now. The future Sonics. It's so complicated now that it's going to take at least another month or 2 to figure that one out. Chris Bosh having all that $340,000 stolen in money and jewelry. There was no signs of forced entry, so now they're thinking it's an inside job, so they're interviewing all the housekeepers and everybody that works in the mansion. Carmelo Anthony was the first player, only the 7th player since 1986 to score 50 points in a game with 2 or fewer rebounds and assists. So all these things, you can't really pick out one. They're all pretty wacky, but it was an interesting week in the NBA, John.
Yeah, that $340,000 worth of jewelry, I don't think that's enough. I think you should double his collection. And by the way, Chris, why don't you check the belly of that camel? I hear they eat anything. You should start there first. Okay, well...
Yeah, don't tell me. His wife was telling everybody on social media that they're going to a party. Don't tell everyone that your house is going to be empty when...
Good thinking. Okay, well, fortunately, the action on the court has been a little bit better for NBA as well as in Las Vegas. Let's start with the Miami Heat. I mean, last week, we talked about how they ended that 27-game win streak, and you mentioned that they might be a good team to go against because of injury factors, and there's really no pressure on them. And, they gave up 101 points at Chicago, not playing any defense, and then they lost at home to the Knicks, 102-90. So is that a trend that you think is still going to continue with this Miami team?
Well, I think the best thing to do right now is just to lay off their games because they really, after beating the Spurs last Sunday, they pretty much wrapped up the best record in the league. So right now they don't have a whole lot to play for. They've actually admitted that the most important thing to them is to get healthy for the playoffs. Friday night, tonight, they're doing the show on Friday. They're resting James, Wade, Chalmers, and Ray Allen, and they're still 4-point favorites at Charlotte. But so either way, you don't want to take the Bobcats because they're terrible. But then again, it's hard to take the Heat when all their best players are out. So it might be the next couple of weeks. The best thing to do might be just lay off their games. That's about it for the Heat. I would be very careful, John, the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, one thing to keep in mind with the Miami Heat, that they have 3 spots coming up where they're going to be playing the second of a back-to-back. So here's a team that wants to stay healthy and doesn't care as much, doesn't need the games, and they're going to be playing a lot of 3 of them, 3 second of back-to-backs. I can't see how the teams are going to say, hey, let's go all out in those second of back-to-backs, especially when you've been resting guys. So keep that in mind from a betting point of view. All right, the number 2 and 3 spot in the East is really the most interesting battle. Really got the Knicks and the Pacers, 2 powerhouse teams getting healthy and playing well. Who of those 2, which one stands out for you as being ready to roll?
Well, the Knicks have won 10 in a row, 9-1 against the spread. Carmelo is pretty much carrying the team. But I'm not sure how that you can depend on somebody scoring 40, 50 points a night, especially for somebody and Carmelo only shoots 44% from the field. And it's hard to, and all of those points in the 50-point game were jump shots or free throws. So, no matter how good you are, you're not going to be that hot every night. Amari Stoudemire, of course, is out for 6 weeks. I'm not sure how much. I'm not sure they really miss him that much. Tyson Chandler has a sore neck. He's day to day. The Knicks have 4 home and 4 away left. They're at Oklahoma City and Chicago. The April 14th game against Indiana will probably be the deciding game. Right now, if the Knicks win that game, there'll be 2-2 head-to-head, so they go to the next tiebreaker, which is the best record in the conference. Right now, the Knicks are up 2.5 games. They're 32-13. The Pacers are 30-16. The Pacers just swept a 4-game road trip, just very impressive. And also, the Pacers are not a team known for their offensive prowess, but they scored 100 points or more in 5 straight games. I think Frank Vogel is the leading candidate for Coach of the Year this year, especially because they didn't have Danny Granger for almost all the year. He's out again for the rest of the season. They've got Oklahoma City tonight, then they have Cleveland, Brooklyn, and Philly at home, and they have to play at Washington and Boston. Right now, it's too close to call. It'll probably come down to that game on April 14th when they play each other, John.
I will go ahead and give a lean toward Indiana. I like defense and I like rebounding, sort of old school. And this team is amazing, as you mentioned, what Frank Vogel gets out of them. They're number 1 in the NBA in rebounding, 2nd in points allowed. They're fantastic at defending the three-pointer. So defensively, there's no weaknesses with this team. You mentioned that 4-0 road trip, just phenomenal. The last game was at the Clippers, a great team out west, a great defensive team. They shot 55% against the Clippers on the road, won the game 109-106. So this is a team that really pays tremendous attention to defense, and that helps them out. The only concern is that great at home, but even with that win at the Clippers, 500 team on the road, they only have 3 road games left, but they're no gimmies either. At Washington, Washington's been playing so much better the second half of the season. At New York, the big one, and even at Boston is a tough place to win. So not many road games for them, but some very difficult ones. But still, I like their defense and rebounding. Okay, the other big battle that's going on, it's not in the 2nd and 3rd spots, but out west, it's really with the last spot. You got the Jazz and the Lakers duking it out. The Lakers are a little bit ahead right now, but they have some problems. Both teams are a little bit soft defensively. Who do you think has an edge in this one?
Well, the Jazz hold the tiebreaker due to the head-to-head series, but the Utah is such a terrible road team that it's hard to give them an edge in anything. They're 1-9 straight up in the last 10 road games. Their remaining schedule, they have 3 home, 3 away. The home games are against New Orleans, Oklahoma City, and Minnesota. The road games are against Golden State, Minnesota, and Memphis. The Lakers have 7 games left. Only one of them is away from Staples Center. That's at Portland, where they always have a tough time there. But the rest of the games are at home against Memphis, New Orleans, Golden State, San Antonio, Houston, plus the game with the Clippers, where they both play at Staples Center. Steve Nash is day-to-day with a hamstring problem. I'll give the slight edge to the Lakers here, but only because the Jazz almost have so much trouble winning a road game. But the Lakers do have to finish ahead of the Jazz because the Jazz have the tiebreaker, John.
Yeah, keep in mind that the Lakers play 5 teams that are going to be in the playoffs. Utah Jazz only played 2 of those, so a little bit of an edge there with the Jazz. Jazz have been playing terrible on the road. Both teams have defensive concerns. And keep in mind that the Utah Jazz 7-1 run over the total. I can see that continuing as they really don't play a lick of defense. But, boy, they got plenty of offensive weapons that they go to. And if you want to look for a matchup angle where Utah can struggle, it would be what I would call the Knicks syndrome, and that is relying too much at times on the three-pointer. I mean, they recently had that 4-game winning streak. Well, the last 2 games of that win streak, they hit 19 three-pointers. They beat the Blazers and they beat the Nets. Nets are a terrific defensive team. Well, then the next night they played Denver and were just 6 of 20 from long range. It got blown out 113-96. So keep in mind, when Utah's playing a team that is very good at defending the perimeter, they could have some trouble because they lean a little bit too much on that. Okay, trivia time. Jeff, who had the best record on the road in NBA history?
I would guess the 72 Lakers, only because they had that tremendous 32-game win streak, and I think they finished 69-13 or something like that. Is that right?
That is number 2 on the list. They were 31-7 on the road. Well, actually,
31-7.
Yeah, the 1996 Bulls, that 72-win team, with 33-8. So they won 2 more games and lost 1 more. So, but as far as winning percentage, slight edge to the Bulls. And if you're thinking, is that going to be approached this year? No, the Miami Heat has the best road record right now, 26-12. So those 2 teams were very unique in their respective categories. Okay, well, that's going to wrap up this weekly report. Jeff, I know you have those tremendous run with games of the year and totals of the year of late. Tell everybody how they can get aboard a very special rate and that one monster play you have coming up.
A week of baseball and NBA for just $10. I included my 20-star consensus game of the year. That goes on Friday. You're going to get baseball and basketball at just $10. And call LVSS at 1-866-575-8916. And when you call, also ask about special rates for the NBA playoffs. 1-866-575-8916.
And Jeff likes NBA playoff time, a 60-31-1 ATS run since 2011 in the NBA playoffs. All right, thanks for joining us. Jeff and I will be back next Friday for another NBA report from Vegas. Good luck with the games, everyone.